Jake Baldino here to talk about the best games of 2024, our game ranks picks. And yes, we're here in the office. We use sometimes, last time we were here, the ceiling was leaking. Now, some of the lights aren't working, but the show must go on. So if I look a little ghostly, that's the reason. But we have 10 games we're going to talk about today. We used to do big award shows and stuff like that, but you know what? We're game ranks. What do we do here? We rank the games, all right? That was so stupid. That's the dumbest thing I've ever said. In all seriousness, though, we are keeping it simple. We got a good list of 10 or so games for you guys, some of our favorites of this year. And when I say our favorites, I say the Game Ranks video team as a whole. So not just me, but Daniel, Falcon, Kevin, Eric, Andrew, Juan, everyone behind the scenes. So don't just shoot the messenger here. This is like our collective choices, some of our words, our thoughts. And just think of it as game recommendations. If you played these, great. If you hate them, sorry, let us know. Don't. I don't. Still a lot of cool games to talk about this year, so let's get started off with the first one. It is Black Myth Wukong. Yes, we're giving Black Myth some recognition because it's just a fun, straight-up action game that gets bigger and crazier as you go through it. You know, the combat isn't like the most complex thing in the world, but it has really cool moments. The game has some incredible boss battles with really, really dazzling, flashy designs and memorable moments. And also just the fact that it's based on an old, Chinese mythology, like Chinese classical novel, Journey to the West. That in and of itself is unique. We talk so much about remakes, sequels, reboots. This is just its own nice, genuine thing. And it was really fun to just jump into that world, not really know a lot, and learn as you go. The graphics are killer. The soundtrack is killer. It's just like a really good, lengthy, entertaining ride. Now, the Game Ranks team's next pick is Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. We want to give credit to this one because this dropped very early in 2024. And it seems like a lot of people, a lot of places, a lot of outlets out there forgot about this one, but this is one of the best games to release this year. It's certainly a kick-ass Metroidvania style game. It's technically kind of a return to form for Prince of Persia, which had 2D platformer roots. So what you have here is really good exploration, great 2D platforming, obviously some great Metroidvania style gameplay, but also some surprisingly tight combat and navigation. The movement, the controls, everything here is extremely tight, and it just makes it thrilling and surprisingly challenging to play through. Look, I know the Prince of Persia brand at this point is kind of all over the place, and Ubisoft is fumbling all over the place, but with these little smart choices and these kind of smaller style games, it just seemed like it was the right move for Prince of Persia. I want a new warrior within as much as the next guy, but we really had a hell of a good time playing through this here. This was like one of the most agreed upon games on our list here. Next up on our list, the big Jeff Keighley Game Awards, they had a cutoff date for games releasing, so December games didn't really squeeze into their votes, but our show doesn't matter, so we're counting new stuff like Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Is it a little bit of recency bias by us? Maybe, but Machine Games' newest, their follow-up from the Wolfenstein games, is incredibly awesome. It's like an actually good movie tie-in game that captures the feel and essence of Indiana Jones. It's also a surprisingly lengthy and deep game. There's a lot going on here. Really detailed, dense worlds to explore that don't feel like they're just filled with fluff or padding. Everything here contributes to the story, the world building, or just the feeling of Indiana Jones. Like the side quests kind of blend into the main quests, and it's just really, really well done. Really simple stealth and hand-to-hand combat, yes, but incredibly satisfying with really good sound effects, visuals, physics. You get into all kinds of hijinks in this that just feel perfectly Indiana Jones. And we were just really genuinely surprised by how solid and awesome this game really is. And to bring it personal for a second, for me, it's what I love. It's a regular old-fashioned video game. It's an adventure you play through, cool action, cool cutscenes, no microtransactions, no bullshit, and it's just fun. Next up, this one might be out of left field for some of you, but consider it a big recommendation. Balatro. Can we get a hell yeah in the chat?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Is that why you didn't finish that video the other day? Because you're addicted to the...
Okay, how about you off?
The game that probably ate up people's time the most here in 2024, believe it or not, was this simple little card game Balatro across Steam, mobile, PS5 versions. A lot of us here have dumped like hundreds of hours into this, and it seems like there's no end in sight. Balattro's addicting roguelike gameplay has kept us all coming back to it all year, and we don't see ourselves slowing down anytime soon, and that's crazy considering like it also hasn't had any like major insane updates or anything like that. It's just the raw gameplay is that good. From its addictive gameplay to the entrancing music and visual effects, there is so much to love about Balatro, and like we think it 110% deserves a spot on our Game of the Year list. Look, smaller games, like kind of like games that look like mobile games, we dunk on them but like we also show respect when they're solid and good. We've awarded Game of the Year recommendations for mobile games and, you know, quirkier games before in the past, and Balatro is definitely the one this year. You might look at it and just think that's all it is, but give it a shot. There's a reason why so many people are hooked on this game. Also, we all hate math here, and Balatro found a way to kind of make math fun. So I feel like that's right there. Good job, guys. Next up on our list is Metaphor Refantasio. Yes, a JRPG classic. That's what this thing is going to be considered, thanks to the folks behind it. While it carries a lot of the energy and some of the design ideas of the Persona games that they made before, this is its own new thing. And I honestly think it's a really good jumping on point if you haven't played the Persona games, but you want to catch some of this creative team's energy. Metaphor Refantasio is a really, really creative and fun RPG that is lengthy, has a really, really incredible world and some really cool characters, but also a story that actually tries to say some things. You know, it actually attempts to do something a little bit more than just what on the surface looks like medieval fantasy. There's a lot more going on. But the visual style, they're crazy over-the-top menus, cutscenes, all this crazy stuff. The character designs, the enemy designs, the music, every single thing with Metaphor is 100% unique. And you'll notice there's a trend this year. Unique is kind of the thing we keep saying, because we play a lot of games here. We check out a lot of games, and sometimes it's the stuff that stands out the most and really sticks in our brains, sticks in our memory, that makes it all really worthwhile, and Metaphor is definitely one of those examples. Next up on our list, completely switching gears, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. While, you know, I said that this year the standout was very unique games, Space Marine 2 is special in how it feels like a throwback. You know, it feels like something we'd play on Xbox 360 or PS3, just a straightforward, awesome sci-fi shooter adventure in third person. It's action-packed, it's gory, it's over the top, and the campaign is incredible. For some of us here, it kind of served as a gateway drug into the world of Warhammer 40k, which that right there, I think the game deserves commendation alone. But also the fact that like not only a cool, fun, entertaining, kind of classic style single-player adventure campaign, but also some great multiplayer modes that we've kept going back to.
Warhammer 2 is so good that I went out and I bought Warhammer miniatures and have been painting them.
That's crazy. Next up on our list, Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl. Yep, we're going with this one. It was one of our most anticipated, and it's a shame that it launched in the state that it did, but even in its rough shape, it's still awesome. It's really hard to put down. I recommended it in the before you buy, and even going forward, it's only gotten better. We always find ourselves like wanting to hunt down one more artifact or like loot one more stash. GSC Game Worlds here has really been also hard at work trying to fix the game, make it better. And I know sometimes we just really do not tolerate games that launch undercooked or half-baked. But again, I think Stalker 2 felt so good, even in its rough state, that it was worth sticking through with. And some fans haven't even minded the bugginess at all, because it's kind of what we expected. But as we sit here talking about this, the 110 gigabyte 1.1 update is installing in the background, which seems like it's also going to fix quite a lot of things. They've been listening to community and fan feedback, and that's good. Also, another big takeaway from Stalker 2 is like, yes, it's a compelling kind of hardcore style game that we don't see as often as we used to, but also the fact that it does feel like a good foundation for the future, for mods and crazy things to happen with this game. You know, because where the original games were like a lightning rod for that, we're hoping that Stalker 2 has a bright future as well. It's cool, it's sweaty, it's definitely not for every player, but if like you're a hardcore PC gamer, give it a shot. Next up, one you may not have heard of, it's called Nine Souls. This is from developer Red Candle Games, that some of us here have been following since their 2017 debut, Detention. Their other games were a little different, but this, their third title, is an intense side-scrolling action game heavily influenced by things like Hollow Knight and Sekiro. It's really good. Somehow for their first action game, they nailed it. The combat is intense, the controls are really responsive, and the difficulty is, we'll admit, extremely high, but it always feels fair. The storytelling is more engaging than you usually get in this type of game. The Towpunk quote-unquote setting is fascinating, the characters are charmingly written, and the bad guys are pretty hateable. The way it's all presented is fantastic too. The animated cutscenes, manga-style story panels just are done with so much love and attention here that they don't feel cheap or rushed. Also, the music is really good, and that helps when you're dying a million times and hearing it over and over again. It's that good. Like we said, this is a Sekiro-like, so parrying is the bread and butter, but it's so responsive, we never really felt like we were whiffing parries when we should be hitting them, and every death, and there were a lot of them, it felt like it was on us. Like we said, it's hard, really hard, but it very rarely feels unfair or cheap. So overcoming adversity and finally beating a really tough boss is just really satisfying. Clearly, these guys get action games, and while on the surface, it looks unconventional, man, when you dive into this thing, this is a full, challenging video game meal. Now, down to our final two, Astrobot. Astrobot is just a great throwback platforming game celebrating the legacy of PlayStation, and leaning pretty heavily on that nostalgia, but also just being a damn good family fun friendly platformer as well. The bosses, the level design, the creativity that goes into all of your abilities to progress through these levels are incredible. The themed levels, from a haunted house to a casino to a beach to the new winter update, everything is just bursting with detail, love, and care. And again, it's a family-friendly game, not something that we usually go for here. But this game has infected a lot of our households. The joy of video games has taken over. And you know what? It should be a platformer game that does it, because we don't get enough of these. And I'm still so annoyed that we barely have any. But I am so happy that Astro is out and it is good enough to really take the crown for some of these, at least in the modern gaming setting. If we're not getting a Crash Bandicoot again anytime soon, or a Banjo-Kazooie, or a Croc, or a Glover, whoever the hell, at least we have Astrobot. Look, man, if you want your hardcore action games, you're playing your Diablo, you're playing your Stalker, whatever, but sometimes you just need that good childlike wonderment. Yes, that's probably not for everybody, but for us here, Astrobot really hit. We had the Grinch heart inside of us, and Astro helped that heart grow. Is that what happened in The Grinch? Did he have a heart attack? I don't remember that movie. And now one last Game of the Year pick for this year for our big list. It's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Yes, like Astrobot before it, there is a lot of nostalgia in this one. It's a big reason for this game. Some of it is cheap, but a lot of it is also really, really well done if you're a Final Fantasy fan. But really, it's spending more time in this fully realized, actual, real Midgard setting here. These lifelike characters, these lovable characters, these characters that you now get to spend even more time with, really just makes this adventure feel worthwhile. Yes, it's really massive, and there is a little bit of open world padding here and there, but it's an excuse to spend more time in this detailed Final Fantasy world. A world that a lot of us fell in love with back in the 90s, but now back in a big new way. Obviously, there are improvements to the combat and the gameplay from Final Fantasy VII Remake, another one we absolutely loved, but for us here, it was just a really good sequel, a really good continuation, and especially, of course, the story. Remember, this isn't a one-to-one remake. Without spoiling anything, it is a really cool and clever reimagining of certain concepts, and just how they take this franchise has been really interesting to see play out, and we're excited to see where it goes next. It left us wanting more. The developers got to take risks, play with the story, play with the concepts. We trusted them with that, and we think they nailed it. And the fact that it gave our boy Zach a ray of hope for a truly happy ending is really just the cherry on top. But that's all we'll say. Those are our top 10 picks, our favorite games of the year. Again, if you weren't listening, it is Black Myth Wukong, Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Balatro, Metaphor Refantasio, Space Marine 2, Stalker 2, Nine Souls, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Astrobot. But along with that, some bonus ones that we couldn't fit into our main list, some quick honorable mentions: Animal Well, Animal Well is probably the indie darling of the year, and for good reason. It's just incredibly well designed with a really, really unique, dreamlike world, hidden puzzles that have driven the community into a frenzy, and it's just a hell of a good time. I played it on Steam Deck. It rules. Also, for me personally, let me squeeze a VR game in here, Batman Arkham Shadow. It's awesome. I know it's a Quest exclusive, that's a bummer, but this is a full-on new Arkham game. While we had a disappointment this year with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, we got a sequel, essentially, to Batman Arkham Origins, and they did an incredible job with it. Also, Helldivers 2. Look, for all the ups and downs the community and the developers had with changes, fixes, nerfs, anything like that, the time we spent with it, playing with friends, was an absolute blast. Time we're not going to forget. But like I said, those are our 2024 Game of the Year picks. Like I said, this is the Game Ranks team's picks. We couldn't cover everything, but we loved a lot of games this year. If there was something we didn't include, we'd love to hear from you guys. Please be nice in those comments. But along with that, thank you for another great year. Some of you have been watching us for 6 months. Some of you have been watching us for like 10 years almost. Either way, thank you very much. We all really, really appreciate it. It puts food on our table, yes, but also we just have fun. Hopefully we provide you with some entertainment on your lunch break or doing the dishes or something like that. Maybe inform your purchases. I don't know. Either way, thank you for being here with us. We're not going anywhere. 2025 seems like there's going to be a shit ton of games, so keep your eyes peeled. But for now, that's it. From all of us here, thank you again. Clicking the like button helps us out, yes, but that's it. I'm going to go to bed. I'm Jake Baldino. Pizza's on.